What caused the economic meltdown? See my other videos for an explanation of what economists call the economic engine. The economic engine of a nation is based upon the cash flow from consumers to businesses and businesses to workers who are in turn consumers. When there is a break in the cash flow, then the economic engine is broken, leading to recession and depression. When consumer spending is no longer self-financing, then the economy melts down. It is the offshoring of American jobs that has caused consumer spending to finance communism and communist China rather than financing consumer income and thus consumer spending. In brief, offshoring American jobs to communist China has broken America's economic engine. Some will say that it was the housing bubble that triggered the collapse, but if Americans still had good-paying factory jobs, then homes would have never gone into foreclosure. Thus, whatever other reason may be given, the underlying root cause is that the offshoring of jobs reduced family income to a point where consumer income could no longer finance both housing costs and consumer spending. We can pour money into the system by borrowing money from the future, but if the money we pour in keeps leaking out into the economic financing of communism and communist China, then the system will continue to fail and we will have no future to borrow from. The one and only way to keep the economic ship from sinking is to do far more than just bailing water. We must fix the leak, and we must fix the leak now. The one and only way to fix the leak of money from America to communist China is to make sure that imports from communist China are no longer greater than exports to communist China. That can be done in two ways: limit imports, highly tax imports. However, given our economic emergency, it may be best to ban all communist imports until Americans have good-paying factory jobs again. All Americans threatened by joblessness, homelessness, foodlessness, and death should take to the streets and demand an immediate ban on all imports from communist China. Only after America recovers should we once again allow imports. But we should not allow imports until communist China stops torturing Christians and ends all human rights abuses. And imports from communist China must never again be allowed to be greater than exports to communist China. And imports from communist China must be taxed at a rate high enough so that the retail price of products produced by child slave labor in communist China is far greater than the retail price of products produced by labor union workers in the United States of America. In fact, perhaps the AFL-CIO should be in charge of the tariff import tax rate of products made from communist China. The laid-off factory workers of America should demand that the AFL-CIO be in charge of the import tax rate. Also, all food and product safety regulations in America that protect human lives must be strictly enforced on all imported products. To save millions of Americans from joblessness, homelessness, foodlessness, and death, Americans may have to take to the streets and demand. We want our offshore jobs back, and we want them back right now. We know that the free trade import of low-wage products from communist China is economically destroying America, so we demand an immediate ban on all imports from communist China until all Americans have good-paying jobs, and we demand it now. If we do not ban communist imports and ban them now, then we will keep borrowing money from communist China in order to buy low-wage imports from communist China until one day we are told to either pay back all loans or become a communist economic dictatorship like communist China. To save America, we must ban all imports from Communist China until once again consumer spending finances jobs for American factory workers. We must demand that once consumer spending finances good-paying jobs so that every American family has a good standard of living. To save America from economic depression, military defeat, and political slavery, we must ban imports from Communist China, and do it now.